In my first Vocaloid Extra episode, I mentioned a software named UTAU, and I said that it deserved a video of its own. Well, this is that video. No, UTAU is not directly Vocaloid related, but it's very similar, and the Vocaloid and UTAU fan bases have a lot of interconnectivity. Fans of one typically like the other, and the UTAU characters are often placed with the Vocaloids in fan-made media. Please keep in mind that I was not very familiar with UTAU and its characters before I started working on this video, so I will be getting my information from the UTAU wiki, which I will link to in the video description. The Vocaloid voice synthesis process begins by recording sounds by singers in a recording studio and building a database of the phonemes. But the recording process is only a very small part of the developing a Vocaloid voice bank. In fact, the recording can be done in as little as a couple days. Most of the work is done by the developers to tune and edit the voice data and turn it into a satisfactory database. This process is relatively simple on its face, and it does not necessarily need expensive technology or supercomputers. Certainly, the better the audio hardware, the better the resulting sounds will be, but otherwise, the only real requirements are a decent computer and time. Realizing that Vocaloid databases could essentially be made at home with normal personal computers, some Japanese people began to create what were known as jinriki, or manual Vocaloids, by recording and converting sounds and syllables and saving them as WAV files, and building their own databases with them. In March 2008, an author by the name of Ameya/Ayema released the first version of the UTAU software in order to make this process easier. The UTAU software, which means song in Japanese, is essentially a low-cost alternative to the relatively expensive Vocaloid software. Vocaloid products generally retail between $100 to $250, plus shipping if you're purchasing a box and disc version. The full Vocaloid 3 editor is an additional $100. So they're not outrageous, but if you want more than one voice bank, it adds up quickly. For example, if you want to buy the Miku, Rin, Len, and Luca packages from the Vocaloid 2 era, which is now 5 to 6 years old, you would be looking at about $500. And that's not including their pens, which would be another $300. UTAU is distributed as shareware, and it seems to cost around $35 to register. UTAU has been regularly updated since its release, and at times it offered more features than the Vocaloid software did. UTAU supported triphones and software plugins a year before the Vocaloid 3 engine provided these capabilities to Vocaloid users. The program is written in Visual Basic 6, and it is encoded in UTF-16, which means that it's possible for people to localize the user interface to different languages. Kasane Teto is the most popular and well-known UTAU voice bank and character. Her effect on the UTAU community can be easily compared to Miku's effect on the Vocaloid franchise. As Teto's popularity spread, more people learned about the UTAU software and its community, and Teto was the first character to be known as an UTAUloid. But Teto is not the voice bank which comes with the software. That honor goes to Utaune Uta, also known as Defoko, which means default girl. Unlike Teto and the Vocaloids, Defoko's voice bank is not based on a human voice, but rather uses the Questalk Female 1 voice synthesis tool, which is distributed for free from aquest.com. aquest has given UTAU special permission to include a voice bank using their software with the UTAU program. Since Defoko's voice uses this voice synthesizer's output, this means her voice is 100% synthetic, and as such is very difficult to use. She will always sound artificial, but if used properly she can impress as long as you keep her pedigree and development in mind.
葉は全て思い出にはさせない。君の笑顔を取り戻すため何度でも僕は歌をやめない。いくつもの夜を越えこの願い叶うその日まで諦めていた壊れかけた現実を拾い集めてもう一度幕をかけるの。君の笑顔を取り返すためいつだって僕は歌をやめない。流れる星に願うこの想い届くその日まで壊れ物のオルゴール空に投げて終了世界に響いた音書き換えて間違えてそれが僕を変えてしまって1秒前僕がなくしたプラス光る心は何色手がと息が全てなら声はどこに響くの触れられない世界にはどんな色が溢れてるのならないオルゴールもう一度響くならこの世界の向こうまで届くような気がしたのそれだけ。
Kasane Teto was the star UTAU needed to be taken seriously, and her introduction gave more musicians a reason to consider using UTAU for their projects. Teto's voice bank is built from voice samples provided by a singer named Oyamano Mayo. Teto's voice bank has been updated twice since her first appearance on April 1st, 2008. Her current version 3 voice bank is in the alpha stages, but it's apparently quite popular due to its increased quality over the previous version. UTAU's developer, Ayema/Ameya, is said to be working on the voice bank as well. What I didn't realize is that Teto actually has her own versions of append voice banks. 2 of them seem to be minor changes, such as one which includes a thrilling R sound, and one which includes breathing at the end of her notes, but the third is known as whisper. Also, despite not being a Vocaloid at all, Teto is so popular that she has made appearances in the Vocaloid Project Diva video games for the Sony PSP. Teto's voice bank is free to use for non-commercial purposes. Released in May 2008, Momone Momo is the third UTAU character voice bank to be publicly released, and she completes what is known as the 3 UTAU girls, along with Defoko and Teto. They are the 3 most well-known Vocaloids, and she has a soft, sweet voice, which is provided by one Miss Fujimoto Momoko. If you're a Vocaloid fan, then you probably heard of UTAU, but unless you looked into it on your own, you may only be familiar with Teto. But I'm sure that even if this is the first time you've seen or heard of Momo, you've heard her voice before. In fact, I would be willing to bet money on it. There's one particular song which gives me that confidence, and it goes a little something like this. Yep, the Nyan Cat theme was originally done by Miku, but the most popular version, that's all Momo. Momo means peach in Japanese, by the way. Momo was important to UTAU development as her voice bank was more refined than the previous voice banks, and she helped set the standard that they and future UTAUloids would later adhere to. She has a softer, sweeter voice than Teto does, and they work well together. Apart from their music, the UTAU characters may be interesting to you because of their character designs. Because each character is typically created by a single person, you get a large diversity of characters and voice banks, with all sorts of descriptions, personalities, likes and dislikes, and so on. It's like a community of role players, but with more women and fewer pizzas. The more popular UTAUloids are often influenced by the community, though, as it's their fans who ultimately decide how to portray them in media. But with other UTAU you can end up with some strange concepts. For example, let's meet Yokune Ruko, another popular UTAU. She has two voice banks, both a male and a female one. She is therefore considered to be both male and female in Japan, though non-Japanese usually represent her as being female. She was intentionally made in response to Luca, apparently, with the whole two voice banks thing. There is also Namine Ritsu, who is a cross-dressing boy android who reportedly weighs 25 tons. Yeah, like I said, you get some strange results, but that's part of the fun. There are a few other popular characters in voice banks that are frequently associated with the UTAU software and are often seen in fan-made media. But because UTAU allows people to create their own voice banks, there are hundreds of others made by people all over the world. The vast majority of these will be created using Japanese syllables, as Japanese is a much simpler language in terms of sounds than English, for example. But there are voice banks available in other languages if you're willing to look.